After the hair styling wax video died on its arse, I'd better do a fragrance video, better I? Hello, my name's Steve, this is Everyman Fragrances. Thank you for clicking on the video, much appreciated. Right, ages ago someone sent me some samples. They sent me loads of samples, lovely, bloody gorgeous person that they were, and I didn't do that much with them. I mentioned a couple of them on the Scent Geeks podcast, and the rest have sat in my drawer, but I was kind of having a good clear out. I thought, right, I've got loads of good samples here that someone very kindly sent me, so I'm going to start doing some content with them, so thank you to that person. And you know what, the one that caught my eye and I thought I've never done anything on this before is Bond No. 9 Scent of Peace. This gets quite a lot of hype, it gets compared to Aventus quite a lot, so I thought I've still got a sample of Aventus, let's compare them. Right, technicalities before I get into any sort of comparison. The Scent of Peace that I'm smelling from, I don't know what the batch is, but it's from these official samples. I've got a couple of them, so yeah, they've kind of come in handy. So obviously they don't spray as much, but I've just been going a bit heavier. And the batch of Aventus that I have a sample of is 18K01. If that means something to you, then I can get a life. But I did, strangely enough, give that a quick search, and apparently that's one of the first batches with berries in or something, I don't know. But there's some saying that it's going to be a sought after batch because it's a little bit different and the berries are in there. I don't know. I'll get into the difference in the two, but I will say that's definitely not a smoky batch, I know that much. But if you watch this channel, you'll know that I am not an Aventus connoisseur by any stretch of the imagination, so don't start going all Aventus geek on me, will you? So the official note breakdown of Scent of Peace, well, at least on Fragmental, they've got pineapple listed at the top, probably hence the Aventus comparisons. It's also got juniper berries, bergamot at the top, there's currant buds in the mid, there's cedar in the base, as well as vetiver. Now, when I first sprayed this, I'm gonna kind of remind myself of the opening just by spraying it up here. The first thing that I thought was, this doesn't smell like Aventus. I thought it smelled definitely in the same style of Aventus. It's very much that sort of masculine signature scent, kind of aromatic sort of a fragrance that's really pleasant, kind of a bit fruity, a bit, you know, it's kind of a bit woody. It's definitely in the same style of Aventus, kind of like Cedrat Boise is from Mancera. I wouldn't say that's not an Aventus clone, but it gets compared to it all the time because it's the same sort of style of fragrance. And that I totally get. I can see why people compare it in that regard, but I personally can categorically say that they do not smell, side by side, they do not smell alike to me. Certainly not in the opening anyway. That said, when I smell the opening of Scent of Peace, I definitely pick up on the pineapple. Again, it's not like really in your face, but it's definitely noticeable and it's hard to miss, to be honest. But unlike Aventus, I find that it's not the driver of this fragrance. It's more of a backseat passenger. And for me, one of the sort of more standout notes that I pick up on is the juniper berries. And that is the case throughout the life of the fragrance. This definitely does develop, but at whatever stage, I always pick up on the juniper berries. I don't know if I'm just sensitive to it, or again, if it's by design or whatever, but I certainly notice the juniper berries. As I said earlier, certainly in the opening, I don't think that this smells like Aventus. As it starts to dry down more, I can see more of a comparison. As it starts drying down, as I said earlier, the pineapple kind of remains in the background as a sort of supporting role, which offers sort of a subtle fruity sweetness throughout the fragrance rather than being sort of too dominant. But the juniper berries are there, and as it dries down, I get that sort of more earthy kind of woody touch from the cedar and the vetiver. And then you're basically left with a really, really pleasant fragrance. It's really lovely. It's just very easy to wear. I can see it's totally signature scent worthy, just like Aventus. Again, I'm not going to try and explain and break down Aventus too much because most of you know more about it than what I do, and obviously the batch variations as well kind of make any sort of description almost null and void. But as I said earlier, the 18K01 that I have definitely isn't smoky. It's quite a nice sort of fruity batch. In the dry down though, I very much get the sort of ambergris woodiness with sort of the pineapple as well, and it's just very super smooth and just very pleasant. I mean, what I will say, I've always sort of said this, I'm not a big Aventus fan. Well, that's harsh. It's just that I've never really got the hype. I came into the game quite late and I saw this fragrance that was so hyped to death that when I smelt it, I couldn't help but be slightly disappointed. But And actually when I wear it, I kind of think it's all right. But whenever I smell it on other people, Aventus smells fucking amazing. And both of these fragrances, Scent of Peace and Aventus, as most of you know, to me, well, at least smell better in the air. If you smell them direct, again, you kind of get the different elements, but it just works better when you just get a waft of it in the air, and then it's all the notes are blending and it just smells lovely. So quite often when I smell Aventus, it's my reaction, I literally smelt it at an event at the weekend. I was in some sort of fete, at a sort of summer fete thing, because, you know, I'm middle class, isn't it? And somebody walked past that was wearing Aventus. And normally whatever happens, whenever that happens, my reaction is, oh, what's that? It smells really good. Oh, it's Aventus. It normally takes me 5 seconds to register, but in the air, Aventus smells amazing, always on other people as well. As I said earlier, it's when these two fragrances dry down that they sort of get more close to each other, but I would still never describe Scent of Peace as an Aventus clone, ever, to be honest. The dry downs, they're again similar styles in the sense that they're both very easy to wear, masculine, woody, slightly sort of fruity fragrances, where Scent of Peace, as I said earlier, that I still get very much the juniper berries are kind of pushing forward, where in the Aventus batch that I have, it's the pineapple in the background, but I can still detect the pineapple in Scent of Peace, but it's just more subtle in the background. As I said, this offering this slightly sort of fruity sweetness in the background. Scent of Peace to me comes across as a little bit more earthy in the dry down with that vetiver, but I would say it is probably still more of a clean vetiver rather than an earthy one, where Aventus, or the batch of Aventus that I have, is not smoky at all in my opinion, and the birch isn't particularly strong either. My batch of Aventus in the dry down is just, again, a very nice woody kind of ambergris masculine scent with that pineapple running in the background to kind of give it that sort of slightly more pleasant, mass appealing sort of feel. And to be honest, it's a really nice batch of Aventus, this sample, I've got to say. To me anyway, I'm sure you connoisseurs out there would be sort of missing the smoke or would want more birch or whatever. So here's the question, which one do I prefer? And it's an interesting one. Actually, before I applied the sample of Aventus on this arm earlier today, and when I was just wearing the Scent of Peace, I was thinking, I prefer Scent of Peace. I actually really like this, it's really nice. But then when I did apply the Aventus sample that I have, I sort of, again, I forgot how good it was. God, it does actually smell really good. Again, particularly in the air when you catch wafts of it. So I think I'd be happily wear either, both signature scent worthy and all that jazz. I think that the Scent of Peace is kind of just, it's a really nice scent, and it's more, obviously Aventus is totally versatile, you can wear it to work, etc. But I would say Scent of Peace is even more kind of versatile and safe and kind of cleaner and just a bit more kind of safe, where Aventus is like a little bit sexier. Again, both very easy, sort of versatile fragrances that you could sort of wear anytime, anywhere. But I would say, yeah, Scent of Peace is a little bit more kind of sophisticated if I was splitting hairs, and Aventus is a little bit more sexy. Now, interestingly, my wife inadvertently agreed with that. I got her to smell both, and I said, oh, which do you prefer? And the first thing she said was, well, I like them both. And she also, I did note that I didn't ask the question, but she did not say that they smell alike at all, which she would normally. She would say, well, they just smell the same. So she didn't pick up on any similarities. She said she liked them both. She said her words were, they both make me want to hug you. And she sort of, by that, she sort of meant that they're just both very nice, comforting fragrances. But she said, Scent of Peace, she would rather that I was kind of wearing on the sofa, kind of colouring wear, and it's kind of more like daytime, where Aventus is more kind of going out. And so in a roundabout way, she kind of agreed with me that sort of Scent of Peace is kind of just a little bit more easy wearing and versatile wear. Aventus is that a little bit more sexy, hence the sort of going out thing. But she liked them both, and she said they both are really comforting, and she would like me to wear both until I told her the price. So would I buy Scent of Peace? No, not for £300 for 100ml, and not for £200 for 50ml either. If I had to spend my money on Scent of Peace or Aventus, I would probably just go to Aventus, to be honest. It does just edge it for me. But I can see if you're regularly buying Aventus, you're happy to spend that sort of money, I can see why Scent of Peace would be a very viable alternative. And by alternative, I do not mean a clone. I mean similar style, but a different fragrance. So just to change it up, I can see why. But I personally prefer Aventus, However, I wouldn't spend the money on Aventus. I would probably get one of the mini Aventus clones, and then ultimately I'd end up getting this Mont Blanc Explorer. This is one of my favourite fragrances. It just really works on my skin more than Aventus does. I've had some crazy compliments. This is my second bottle. I did get a smaller 60ml before, which I used all up, and this is the larger bottle. So yeah, that's totally what I would do, but then I am a basic bitch. If you do try Scent of Peace from Bond number 9 and you like it and you can't justify that expense, my friend Nick at the YouTube channel Only Frags is a big fan of the perfume parlour version. I have never tried it. He's done a good video and a comparison of it, so I can't comment personally, but I do trust his opinion, and he speaks very highly of the perfume parlour version of Scent of Peace, and I would trust him on that one, because the perfume parlour fragrances are typically pretty good, and they're a hell of a lot cheaper, and also it might be a good way to sort of smell and try the DNA to see if you want to kind of spend the big money before you get the actual legit bottle from Bond number 9. That's it. Thank you for watching. I do really appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe and all that shit, and I will see you for a video again tomorrow. Take care, much love.